The learning style strategy that I will be using for my lesson will be directive training. I believe directive training will be beneficial for this lesson. The reason being is because the learners, they have none or very little skills of coding. This will help them out. The target audience for this lesson is targeted for third graders. The lesson plan that I will be using is focused on the Scratch application. The lesson will be targeted using the Sprite character and Scratchy application. I will then go ahead and demonstrate the lesson plan sprite movement using Scratchy application software that I will demonstrate to the students. The following is the lesson plans that I will be using to demonstrate the students how to use coding. As you can see, the learning objectives, the students will use problem solving and math skills using Scratch application software. The students will also create an animation including movement and images, as well as creating an animation and setting of their choosing. For the introduction, I will ask students to choose a sprite of their choice from the file given in the application. Once the students choose a sprite character of their choosing from the file, I will then ask them to click on the blue motion button on the top left corner of the application. Once they have done so, I will then have the students experiment for a few minutes, clicking various buttons on the application to see what happens. After the students have explored the application, pressing various functions will dive into and learn how to do the left and right movement. By doing that, they will need to add a block to move 10 steps by dragging it into Script's workspace. Double-click on the block to see if it works. After the students have explored the application, pressing various functions will dive into and learn how to do the left and right movement. By doing that, they will need to add a block to move 10 steps by dragging it into Script's workspace. Double-click on the block to see if it works. Once the students have dragged the block into the Script workspace and have double-clicked the block to see if it works, we will then do the left movement. By doing this, we will change the 10 by clicking on it and changing it to a -10. Once the students have completed the left and right movement, they will then get familiar with a block that is called control. The control block is then added to the Script workspace. This block commands the spirit to move when pressed on certain keys. Once the students have gotten familiar with the left and right movement, as well as the control movement block, they will then get familiar with the forever block. This forever block makes continuous movement. By doing this, they will insert the block if on edge bounce. When completing the lesson, the students should be able to use the left-right movement as well as the control block. After that, they will then do a challenge. The challenge will be to select 2 sprites from the file. They will then use the blocks used in the lesson for the challenge. In conclusion, directive training was the delivery method I utilized for this presentation, teaching coding to third graders in order to develop problem solving. Students will have a better understanding on what coding is and the benefits it has in improving problem solving and math skills. The lesson will also help students to move on to more advanced coding lessons.